Do you use AI for sermon prep? Yes, I do. Does it make it faster? No. If anything, I'm spending slightly more time on my sermons than I was before. But here's the thing. The sermons are better, clearer, deeper, more researched, more layered, and I wouldn't go back. Here's what I've actually found. AI does not make sermon prep faster. It makes it more comprehensive. It's become a force multiplier on everything I put my hand to. Now, if you're wondering what tool I use specifically, I use Claude, and there's a lot of reasons I think it's the best tool out there for this. I'll show you a quick glimpse of what this looks like in a second. But first, 5 specific ways AI has changed my preaching. And I'll share a 6th one at the end too that might surprise you. Tool number 1, AI as creativity agent. This is the one that first opened my eyes to what AI could actually do for sermon prep. Most pastors think of AI as something that talks, that generates, that produces output. What I discovered is that the most valuable thing AI can do is draw things out of me. Here's what I mean. When I get stuck, and every preacher gets stuck, I don't ask AI to solve my problem. I type something like, "I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Help me figure out what I'm actually trying to say." And then it just asks one question at a time, and I answer. And here's why it works. Creativity doesn't usually show up when we're staring at a blank page. It shows up when we're reflecting, wrestling, answering questions. Any great coach, any great mentor knows this. The right question unlocks more than the right answer. AI does not think for me. It draws out what I'm already thinking. And since it's all happening inside the AI project, it's capturing everything I say along the way. None of it gets lost. And tool number 2, AI as thinking partner. Sermon prep involves juggling a lot of balls at the same time. You've got the exegetical work, the commentary, the theology, the audience, the structure, the illustrations, the application. All of it is live at the same time, and it's a lot to hold in your head. One of the most underrated things AI has done for me is hold all of that. It doesn't just remember, it becomes a bank I can go back to and interrogate. I can ask, what did I say earlier about how this passage connects to what my congregation is carrying right now? And it's right there. I bring all my research into the AI project, everything I've worked through in the commentaries. And as I'm wrestling with how to make it land for a real person sitting in a chair on a Sunday morning, AI is holding all the pieces while I focus on the one I'm working on. It's not generating ideas for me, it's making sure none of my ideas get dropped. Tool number 3, AI as manuscript writer. I've never been a manuscript preacher. I preach without notes, always have. But I always knew a manuscript would make me better. I could just never justify the time it took to write one because I wasn't going to stand up and read it anyway. AI changed that. Now, as part of my sermon development process, I work with AI to write a full manuscript. Not a one shot. We write it in small chunks, introduction first, then the body, then the conclusion, each section reviewed before we move to the next, and then something really powerful happens. I can step back and look at the whole thing from 40,000 feet. Does my introduction set up my conclusion? Does what I plant early pay off later? And we can edit the whole arc together. The manuscript does 2 things for me. First, I send the manuscript to a small group of people from our church community. They volunteered to help me become a better preacher. Every week, they read it on a Google Doc and leave comments, real feedback on a real draft, something I never had before AI made the manuscript possible. Second is the benefit of Sunday morning. Before I walk out to preach without notes, I open that manuscript. I feel the weight lift off my shoulders. Like, I remember this. I know exactly where I'm going. AI gave me something I always needed, but could never justify the time to build. Tool 4, AI as feedback coordinator. The folks I just mentioned, they leave a lot of comments, sometimes 40, 50 on a single draft. And walking into that review conversation used to feel overwhelming. Where do you even start? Now, before I even sit down with them, I export that Google Doc and I drop it in AI. I ask one question: what are the themes you're seeing in this feedback? In about 30 seconds, it synthesizes 50 comments into 3 or 4 structural themes, the real issues, the patterns underneath all the individual notes. I walk in already knowing what the conversation needs to be about. We drill down fast. We leave with clarity instead of just a long list of fixes. That's not AI replacing my team. That's AI helping me show up better prepared. Tool number 5, AI as growth coach. Now, before I explain this one, just to be clear, AI is not asking me if I read my Bible or spent adequate time in prayer. That's not what I mean. Here's what I mean. Since I write every sermon inside my AI project, AI has access to my entire sermon archive, every manuscript, every draft, and I can ask it to do something most preachers never get: an honest evaluation of my preaching. I ask AI to read through my sermons, look for patterns, identify strengths and weaknesses, and evaluate my manuscripts against the communication strategies and preaching methodologies of the best communicators in the world. And it tells me clearly, specifically. Now, I'm still the pastor. AI gives me the feedback. I decide what to do with it. Some of it I take, some of it doesn't fit who I'm trying to be as a preacher, and I set it aside. But the honest assessment of where I'm strong and where I'm weak, that used to be really hard to get. And whenever I sense the Lord inviting me to grow into a specific area, I put it right there on the project notes. Now, every week when I bring in a new sermon, AI reminds me, hey, you said you were working on this. I don't see it here. It remembers my growth goal, so I don't have to rely on willpower alone. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but isn't this cheating? Here's what I'd say. AI is not writing my sermons. I am. Think about it this way. When you need a statistic for your sermon, you go to Google. You spend 20 minutes searching. AI just does that faster and better. It's a tool, like a commentary, like a concordance, like a trusted friend you think out loud with. The difference is it holds all your thinking and never loses a single thought. If you want to know more about how I use Claude specifically, drop a comment below. I'm happy to do a more detailed walkthrough if there's enough interest. And if you want to get better at sermon writing in general, head to storyform.church. I put together a free training on the framework I use every single week. Now, I've got one more for you, and honestly, it might be the most practical tool of all. Here's the bonus: AI as a journal. When I'm processing a passage, wrestling with it, thinking through it, I'll sometimes just speak my thoughts directly into AI, stream of consciousness, whatever's coming up, questions I have, connections I'm making, things I'm wrestling with spiritually. And here's why that matters. All of those thoughts, every half-formed idea, every question, every burden, they're now captured right there in my project. And when I come back to write the sermon, I could ask, what was I processing earlier about this? What was I wrestling with? And I could pull those raw thoughts directly into the manuscript. The most honest, alive moments in a sermon often come from that early wrestling. AI makes sure that none of it gets lost.